spiritual awakening feels pure and feels good, and we all have a conscience, that inner core that says, yes, you're on the right track. Yes, you did a good deed. Yes, you said a kind word. It's that intrinsic value you get from your soul when you do right and you do well. Well done, my child. You get that little inner pat on the back, so to speak. If you're not on the right track and you're doing projection or coming from the ego, because the ego likes to project and not take responsibility and accountability for its shadow, you can feel inside at the soul level, because the conscience is a function of the soul perception. And the soul, it's that inner knowing that is developed through inner attention and being still. So there's an inner knowing. It's like that still small voice. If you're not developing it, it might not be full-blown expressed as intuition. It may be more of a whisper. You can ignore it. It'll always come back though. It might be a whisper or an uncomfortable feeling, but the soul's always tapping us to be our best and do better. We feel it if we do projection and we come from a place that's not the highest vibration of love. We know it at the soul level.
Welcome back to the Transcendent Minds podcast, Michelle. We've journeyed through many uncharted paths of wisdom, growth, and self-discovery. I'm honored to welcome you back as one of our legacy voices who continues to push the boundaries of knowledge and consciousness. Your insights have not only inspired us in the past, but continue to shape the evolving landscape of this platform. As a returning pioneer, you've walked with us through the depths of transformation, sharing your wisdom and guiding us towards higher truths. Together, we can venture even further and explore new horizons and unlock deeper layers of understanding. I want to thank you for rejoining us on this journey of enlightenment. I'm excited to hear about new insights and revelations you're going to bring to the conversation today. In every soul, there lies a seed that's small, but vast with possibility. That seed is our divine potential. It's a spark of greatness that connects us to something far greater than ourselves. To actualize divine potential is not merely to achieve personal success or fulfillment, but to awaken the dormant power within us that transcends the physical world, but aligns us with the very essence of creation. Looking at this topic of actualizing divine potential, I can see throughout history, the sages, the mystics, the spiritual leaders, they've all spoken of this profound truth. Within each one of us is the capacity to embody the divine, to manifest love, wisdom, and strength in all that we do. What does it mean to actualize potential? Does it mean we embrace the fullness of who we are, rise beyond limitation, fear, and doubt, and walk the path of our highest calling? We become co-creators with the universe. We express the infinite within the finite, allowing the divine to shine through our thoughts, actions, and our very being. Today, I want to explore how we're going to unveil this divine potential, and in doing so, how we can uncover the limitless potentials that await when we step into the light of our true essence. Firstly, I want to consider the word divine. What qualities or characteristics do you associate with the divine?
There's discovery of the divine within through my practice is meditation, going in nature, and setting intention to be of service. I know I have a divine blueprint. I know my talents and skills are dedicated to God and to being of service. I know I set intentions that put me on a path to discover and develop these potentials. Also, to be at the ready, surrender to divine will, but at the ready to be activated in any moment. which happens spontaneously for all of us, of course.
When you think about potential in general terms, what does potential mean to you?
Each soul, I feel, has a unique set of potential, which is the myriad divine expressions. For example, I have developed intuitive abilities and I give soul readings. I was at a metaphysical store presenting my books and doing book signings. A girl came in the store and she wanted a reading. She was distraught about something. The store has a reader on call, but that reader was out to lunch. I said, while you're waiting, I could give you a reading. It was meant to be set up by the universe. You know how those things happen. I gave her a reading, and it was exactly what she needed to hear, what she needed to know. She was in tears. I was getting truth chills. It was a profound reading. I hugged her at the end. We hugged each other. She was so happy and fulfilled. She got what she wanted. I was there to sell my books, but I gave a reading because I'm up for whatever I'm called to do in the moment. It was a divine gift for both of us. She heard what she needed to hear, and I knew it was spirit coming through me. I have a knack for getting out of the way in terms of, I know it's not me, but the intention to be of service and to be a pure channel to serve souls. Our intentions create our reality. It was a spontaneous, tapped by God or spirit coming through moment that was extremely deep, and we felt the depth of it in our souls, no doubt about it.
Beautiful story. When you combine these concepts into divine potential, what image or idea does that evoke for you?
The divine intelligence comes through. I get out of the way. If I'm out of the way, my limited thinking, my limitations are gone. It is the divine. Glory to God in the highest, because when that happens, it's not the small self or the individualized character or personality. It is the divine, and you are an instrument of that divine expressing pure divinity, which is in every single one of us. We express our divinity, which is pure love and service. Giving readings is like being an interpreter when you're getting one language and speaking it in the language the person can understand and comprehend. With readings, I might get visions of scenes or movies. I can use parables. It's like this. I do hear words. I'm clairaudient too, but the pictures and the meaning, the telepathic communication of spirit is so much deeper than just words, which can be limiting with concepts. So that's why the ability to speak in parables, metaphors, or similes, or comparing instances, or even movies. I've been given movie scenes before, and to say it's like this.
Which
Yeah.
is great because that's analogy scenery. You get the visual, you get the frames of something that can transfer easily because somebody can get a better purchase, especially if you're trying to explain something that
Yeah.
may have many layers or stratas to it, or may seem complex. An image or a frame or a scene from a movie can hit home quickly.
It's like symbols and archetypes and things that hold a lot. You can say in a concise, understandable way. Spirit knows what I have as my database to work in. They know what the other person understands. This transfer, and then the feeling and sense of love when you're crying and getting tingles, spirit is deeply present.
When you emailed the topic name, which was actualizing your divine potential, I looked at the word actualize and I was thinking, what does it mean to actualize something? There's a difference between something on setting and something actualizing.
It's like you're inspired. You take action and it flows in expression through
Mhm.
words and actions and your vibrational frequency.
And what obstacles might prevent someone from actualizing their divine potential?
Sometimes you're around egoic people that get threatened and they're in the material world. As a matter of fact, right after that, the person came back from lunch at the metaphysical bookstore where I did the reading. The girl who got a reading from me canceled her reading and said she got everything she needed. There were people at the bookstore that were upset. I understand, of course, because they lost a client. Spirit came through. I didn't stop it or block it. And I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I didn't know she was going to cancel. I was being kind-hearted and giving. I didn't charge anything to this person, but they were quite upset and had a reaction. If they were open, I could have been one of their readers and served people at their place. They could have capitalized if they wanted the material aspect. So that kind of thing. Sometimes people are just not there in terms of giving service or understanding the flow of service. We all have resistance and blockages sometimes. Creating space for other people. We talked about flexibility before and going with the flow. Creating space is like unconditional love. It's okay if people fall down, you help them get up. We learn so much about forgiveness, unconditional love, and not taking things personally. The process of awakening is also reminding yourself not to take things personally and understand, even if people directly attack you with verbal slings and arrows, forgive them for they know not what they do. It may authentically hurt and make you cry or feel bad, but that's energy to process.
Do you think all humans have divine potential, or do you think it's limited to certain individuals?
I think everybody has divine potential. Everybody has a soul blueprint. It's called the treasures of the soul. It's like that field where you would sell everything just to get that field. It is a field of energy. When you go into your heart and open up the treasures of your soul, the kingdom of heaven, it is spiritual wealth. It is wealth beyond imagination, beyond time, beyond space, beyond limitations. All it takes is surrender and attention to your own soul's light. Everybody has potential. Even if somebody's not seeking their potential, it's going to sneak out and get expressed. It's natural and organic. So it comes out. Oh, we consciously develop it. Spiritual seekers do that. They tend to develop, self-explore, self-discover, internally explore the soul, true feelings, have questions and curiosity, know there's a connection with higher power, higher intelligence, that purity of heart is in there somewhere, even though we don't always feel it and express it, but that's our growth. We're always able to grow, overcome, and purify. Some people call it shadow work when there's these aspects of your personality you want to purify and clear out because in your conscience, in that instance, I could have done better. It takes courage and strength to look at yourself. We all have places to grow or we wouldn't be here. We came here to grow and help others grow. We're here to serve each other by our personal growth that develops a storehouse of talents, virtues, skills, and so forth to give to other people and to share. I realized in my personal growth and development, I'm creating a storehouse of something I can share. So giving of myself is that divine expression. Find the shadows and blockages, get over myself or the small self, the undeveloped self. It takes work. It's not work like you go to a job and work. It's more of a willingness to look, see, and allow alchemical changes to take place in consciousness. Be still and know that I am God. I am that I am. When you're still, it comes forth naturally. Work is the opposite of physical work. Stop, be still, be quiet, listen inside. The work means to do nothing.
You mentioned the word awakening. You reminded me of a client some time ago. She always felt a deep, inexplicable longing for something greater than what she described as a mundane existence. One day, during a moment of quiet reflection of just being, she experienced a profound shift in consciousness. She felt connected to everything around her. I'm trying to recall some of the things she said and remembering the scenario. So she felt very connected to everything around her, but she sensed a divine spark within herself and all creation. It was in a moment of quiet reflection, but that awakening sparked a journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. She started to set her feet upon the path of exploration, looking at ways to nurture her innate divine potential. I believe there are many people who may experience this. My question is how does one differentiate between genuine spiritual awakening and psychological projection or wishful thinking?
Spiritual awakening feels pure and feels good. And we all have a conscience, that inner core that says, yes, you're on the right track. Yes, you did a good deed. Yes, you said a kind word. It's that intrinsic value you get from your soul when you do right and you do well. Well done, my child. You get that little inner pat on the back, so to speak. If you're not on the right track and you're doing projection or coming from the ego, because the ego likes to project and not take responsibility and accountability for its shadow. So you can feel inside at the soul level, because the conscience is a function of the soul perception. And the soul does have that. It's that inner knowing that is developed through inner attention and being still. So there's an inner knowing. It's like that still small voice. If you're not developing it, it might not be full blown expressed as intuition. It may be more of a whisper that you can ignore. It'll always come back though. It might be a whisper or an uncomfortable feeling, but the soul's always tapping us to be our best and do better. We feel it if we do projection and we come from a place that's not the highest vibration of love. We know it at the soul level. We have that perception. We have that mustard seed, if you will, that divine spark, and it doesn't go anywhere. It's there. If we're living and breathing, we've got the spark.
What role does personal suffering play in catalyzing the realization of one's divine potential?
The answer's in your question. It is a catalyst. It's a catalyst for the alchemy of consciousness and the evolution of the soul. That we absolutely plan as a soul these catalysts, which are changes and problems that we have to find solutions for, that activates and develops our divine potential. I remember being in a meditation quite some time ago. I was saying, since we can manifest and create our own reality, what about the parts that we have set up for ourselves as challenges to develop? And I remember my answer, it was like they dovetail into each other, they blend. The sense I got was like, oh, yes, how perfect.
That's interesting. The answer is within the question. In your view, how might society change if more individuals experienced such awakenings and began to actively pursue their divine potential?
I believe that is happening right now exponentially. Exponential potential development is happening right now. That is the Great Awakening. People are affected. It's like the little ice cube that becomes a snowball, that becomes an avalanche eventually. We are all one inside in our photonic intelligence, our soul intelligence, the light that we are, the divine spark. We're all connected. We affect one another. So raising our vibrational frequency, developing, expressing our divine potential, and being that light in the world, we shine ever brighter, and our vibrational frequency rises when we work together and cooperate like we do, and a lot of people do, to shine their lights together. Imagine the exponential light and illumination and love that comes through. It's like getting those little, I'm thinking of the round little lifesaver things that gets thrown out. All of these buoyancy things are out there, and you can grab onto them and you can float and you won't sink. You learn to raise your own vibration, and it goes from getting a helping hand and a little buoyancy device to being able to walk on water. And literally, I mean that, because we are becoming masters. It's just a question of physics, and we're developing our light bodies. We're helping each other. We love one another. We are out of judgment and ego. And yes, we're fine tuning. Yes, we're getting more and more discernment. Yes, we're finding more and more opportunities to express our divine potential. Yes, we're being blessed more and more. And the conductor, the orchestrator of this wonderful divine symphony is creating a garden of souls that are blooming into the most amazing botanical garden of gorgeous, colorful, wonderful souls on this planet. To see with your spiritual eye, you're like, wow, this planet was doing really well. All these souls are coming together and people are coming out and shining their lights. And a lot of them are having YouTube channels and talking to each other and then learning their own particular things. Like you're learning more about astrology. I'm learning more as I express and experience giving readings, doing podcasts, for example. So we step up to the plate, and sometimes we start out a little timid and we do things and we start expressing with maybe not a super lot of courage or confidence in the beginning, because it's like learning to walk. You take little baby steps first. When people have creative expression, they might be nudged by spirit to take a step. And for example, this is really funny because when I signed up, my original intention was to get my books out for sale. Then I started getting called on to do readings because people that had these events, they wanted readers. So I started giving more and more readings. Then I went to these expos and they wanted you to take a speaker slot. So I was like, okay, I'll try this. By golly, I had a few little audiences and gave talks, and I've grown that ability and confidence and had feedback to speak about some of these topics that I write about in my books. It goes back to that reading I got when I was 14, and it hasn't really activated yet, but it said, you're going to be a speaker. You're going to speak to multitudes of people. It was always in the background. These little seeds have been planted in my life in the last few years of doing little speaking events. Being a teacher, you're an audience when you have a classroom full of kids. So I guess that was developing in some way, but it's different to me with kids than adults. I feel very comfortable around kids because I still feel like I am one. In a way, I am.
You spoke about spontaneity earlier on, the fact that you activate spontaneity by calling up your friends. Hey, do you want to go out for lunch? And
Yeah.
it's spontaneous. When you see kids, they're very spontaneous. But as
Mhm.
adults, we lose spontaneity because we go into this analysis paralysis. We overthink everything. We put all these barriers in place as distinct from saying, you know what? What the hell?
When I tutor kids, they like to tell me stories. And when they tell me stories, they don't think about, oh, what's this person going to think of me? They want to express what they're excited about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Such and such happened, and this happened, and it's just their energy. Oh, that's one reason I love kids so much. Their
Ah,
energy. There's something pure, innocent, authentic, and
no hidden agendas. I want to draw on the richness of your wisdom. I feel you have wisdom from your head to your toes and above. I see many people who are diving into the deep end, into actualizing their divine potential. They face many challenges of integrating this newfound awareness with their everyday life. You start to expand consciousness, that can sometimes clash, and usually does clash, with societal norms and expectations. What ensues is a struggle to balance spiritual growth with your responsibilities as a parent, as a spouse, as a professional. There's a rising realization that true actualization means bringing divine essence into all aspects of your life, as distinct from compartmentalizing it. How can individuals or people who are listening to this navigate the tension between spiritual growth and societal expectations?
I can speak to that because when the COVID thing came through, I knew that God gave me the right to breathe. And I personally chose not to wear a mask. And I expressed my sovereignty of choice, free will choice that God gives us to not do that. I did research and I looked at the science behind it and the health issues behind it and everything. So I was educated. My spiritual growth came with interaction with people. I felt in a way they should know better. And I had to talk to myself and say, they're getting information from another source. They might not be a truth seeker. They might not be in touch with their conscience. There's a reason. Everybody has a reason for being who they are and what they are in the moment. I was a little perturbed when people went along with it, especially when they didn't have to. You didn't have to, because even when there were signs on doors at businesses, I went in and someone would say, you have to wear a mask. And I said, I'm not allowed. This wasn't from any doctor. This was like my own soul, my own conscience saying, you need to breathe fresh air. And if they said anything at all, they didn't say anything after that. I was allowed to go in, and because they want your business really in the end. But I was still processing internally, and I got to the place of almost scolding myself and say, Michelle, you have to give them space to be who they are and make their own choices, and they have their reasons too. You need to have compassion for what they're listening to, who they're listening to, and why this is happening, and what the catalyst for evolutionary growth that this is causing. Make sure you give them the space and energetically love them and not downgrade them at all in your mind. Try to grow through that. That's an interaction, because our thoughts have power. I didn't say anything mean, but I know I'm responsible for my thoughts and my energy too. I had to fine tune my energy field to have that space of compassion and unconditional love.
That helped you navigate the tension between spiritual growth and what society expects.
Yeah, and that was spiritual growth, because I wasn't being a very high elevated spiritual person if I was judging, questioning, downgrading anyone else for not making the same choice that I made, which initially I was thinking this is common sense. In the end, you put yourself in other people's shoes and you see what their influences are, and they have different challenges, life paths, and so forth. We're all different, and leaving the space for other people to wake up and grow in their own time. That's really important to do. Also, to be able to be loving and kind to everybody, even if they're mean to you. Because some people I knew, they thought their way was right, would look at me funny or give me the look or even say something mean. I practiced going beyond not thinking anything bad to being extra kind, in spite of it's okay. We have different ideas, expressions, decisions, and so forth. Love anyway. That's one of my mottos, love anyway. So I had some great experiences with that. I went up to somebody where I was checking out and I was smiling, and she goes, oh, we don't get to see each other smile anymore. She took off her mask and smiled at me. It was really cute. It was very cute. We talked, and yeah, it was good.
What are the potential impacts, whether it's psychological, spiritual, or biopsychosocial, spiritual impacts of rapid spiritual development on one's sense of identity and relationships?
Identity is a key component of spiritual development and growth. In fact, one of my books is called A Case of Mistaken Identity. It was a sing-songy little story about how I used to think my looks, my car, my job title, blah, blah, blah. And I discovered my true self. And it's really a funny story, but impactful because it's true. It talks about my spiritual growth, but it's a universal thing that we're going through this different identity, a shift in identity from being individual and separate to being divine and having access to infinite intelligence and being, and broadening the base of inner knowing and expansive intelligence and the depth of perception. Those are the treasures. I get excited when I think about it, because we've all got these treasures awaiting us. We're opening up our treasures and gifts, and we express them, and more come. And so, did I answer your question? I felt like I got lit up and got all excited.
Absolutely fine. It is what it is. There's never a definitive or an
Yeah,
absolute to an answer. It's whatever is coming
yeah.
through. This question comes from people who may be starting a journey of spiritual development, who may be thinking, it's all very well actualizing your divine potential, but I live in the real world. And the real world for me is doing the laundry, getting the kids to work, making supper, and doing two jobs or whatever it might be. Is it possible, or is it viable to fully actualize one's divine potential while participating in modern society, or does it require withdrawal from worldly affairs?
Both. I will say, when I decided to commit myself to daily spiritual practice, I will tell you, I was a single parent of a young child, and I had to get us both up and ready and out every morning in a time schedule. And the younger they are, the more help they need for preparation and caring for them. And as a single mom, I made a dedication to meditate daily, that I would do it at least 5 minutes a day. Then I decided 15 minutes should be the minimum. Then it grew to where 45 minutes was the norm. Even on a school day, like I would get up extra early because became quite fascinating actually. It changed my days. It changed me so very much. It's intense positive change. In terms of what the real world is, you start to think that, oh, this is the real world. And that's the effect. This is the cause. Boy, if I get down to the cause and master, that's going to be a piece of cake, what we used to call the real world, or some still do. My real world was being a single parent. My real world was going to work, being responsible, getting groceries, getting clothes, paying the bills. That's the real world. And the real world dovetailed when I included and committed myself to 5 minutes of spiritual growth, which grew to 15, then 45, dedication in the morning to being still and looking within. It's doable. It always starts with the 5 minute thing. Not only that, it's like finding a treasure chest with gold in it, right in your own backyard, in your own soul, right in your own heart. That treasure chest colors the whole world. It brings that golden energy into the physical world, and that golden energy becomes the real world, the Christed, united, connected oneness of consciousness that melts all the problems and gives you guidance, protection, and solutions. Boy, I'm telling you what, when you hit a brick wall in life and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get around this or through this? I don't have no answers. It seems impossible. I can't pay my rent, or what if I have this terrible disease or condition and I can't work anymore and I'm a single parent? Now what? So go to the source and pray for help, intervention, answers, solutions, and be thankful for the challenge because it comes with a gift. Everything comes with a gift.
That needs a certain commitment, even if it's for 5 minutes. By establishing intention as a commitment to that intention is a reduction in options. It means you don't get distracted by something else because your intention is set, and you have to have a consistency about that. Every day you might start with 5 minutes, as you say, and then that starts to stretch into 7 or 10 or 15 or 20 and so on. But you have to be able to make the commitment by stating your intention so that you move into the day with a different lens as distinct from the day moving into you with all of its distractions.
It's a different lens. That's a good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it.
I want to talk about the collective shift. As more and more people begin to awaken and to actualize their divine potential, and you mentioned this when we were speaking earlier, there's a subtle shift that's occurring in the collective consciousness because people are becoming more empathetic and passionate and interconnected. And there are new solutions that are onsetting and will actualize to age old problems. There will be an emergence of those things. They're driven by heightened creativity and intuition. But at the same time, this shift can bring challenges. I'm thinking of those who resist change because they feel threatened by the evolving paradigm. How might the actualization of divine potential on a large scale? I appreciate this is probably a big question, but how might the actualization of divine potential on a large scale impact global issues such as conflict, environmental degradation, economic inequality?
I love that question. I love that question because that's what we're up to. We're realizing that we're connected. We're realizing our divine powers. And intention is extremely powerful. More and more people are intentional. Intentional is like one of those big I words. In fact, it's part of my acronym. I can't do the right direction right there where it says smile soul power. That's spiritual miracles intentional living education. So the I in smile is for intentional. So we're creating morphogenic fields and unified fields. There's people all around the world setting the intention for peace, meditating and growing spiritually. There's people all around the world that are saying, I have free will choice. I can choose prosperity and abundance. I don't have to buy into these limitations. I can create my own reality. I don't have to have someone tell my vision. I can go into this quiet space and realize the vision of my soul from my blueprint and how I fit into God's divine plan. Collectively, we are unifying, even if we don't meet each other in person, but all around the globe, we have similar or same intentions that are powerful. This world is changing, and we're going through a meta paradigm shift. The old guard is falling away. The limitations are dissolving. Our divine potential, we are stepping up, almost like a new race of humans is stepping up with this higher consciousness. We're stepping up and stepping out into the limelight with courage, confidence, and inner strength. Our light bodies shining. We're doing our best to be our best, and people are changing. We're changing each other just because we are connected as one. It's so exciting because those of us that are on this path and being the leaders, the paradigm pioneers, we know all the suppressed technologies are going to be coming out and we're going to have free energy that was suppressed for a while. We know we're going to have all these medical advances. We know we're going to express our own potential and create our own reality. We know the treasures of the soul lead to the opulence that God has in store for us, without a doubt. Nothing can stop that. We're going to all have opulence, perfect health, divine beauty, and eternal youth. All of this is coming into being. We built our light bodies, really lightening up. I've mentioned the shadow work before and the stuck energies. So we're becoming masters of energy, masters of intelligence, masters of vibration. And we're doing it collectively. And heaven on earth has been created. Now it's coming down into the expression of our new world, which is one of the books over here, predicted and brought in the visions for it. It is a new world after all. I emphasized is because we need to see it and claim it. It is already in our vision, and love and gratitude into the vision. And together we're exponentially creating it. We all have access to the same source, the same conductor of the soul symphony. And so we're working together, whether we meet or not, by holding the space and the intention for the new heaven on earth and higher consciousness beings to evolve from the lower densities and frequencies up toward being more angelic, galactic light beings, our potential.
When I saw this topic, it made me think about how do we redefine what it means to be human as we begin to evolve, and the abilities that are now being developed, once thought impossible or pseudoscience, especially those with Newtonian reductionist thinking, is heightened intuition, spontaneous healing, phenomena like telepathy, channeling. It's all become more common.
Yeah, that's interesting and evident how common it is becoming because of the popularity of podcasts such as yours and others that explore consciousness, near-death experiences, phenomena that we are experiencing personally and sharing stories about that. It's quite prevalent, isn't it?
It's brought about a wonder and a concern, because as the boundaries between science, spirituality, and the natural reality, it begin to blur and blend as well. How might the actualization of humanity's divine potential change our understanding of consciousness, reality, and the laws of nature?
Interestingly, to me, what you're speaking to is, oh, science is changing. Science is growing up. Science is not compromising integrity or ethics for the almighty dollar or money, and going into integrity and spiritualizing and going into more of the physics and the quantum nature of consciousness. Science is evolving as we're evolving our consciousness. The mechanistic science models are also dissolving into more of the holographic photonic quantum physics level of science is really taking precedence now. The other outdated, outmoded, obsolete science, I think, is dissolving for most of us paying attention, because we're not looking at science, we are science. We're not just looking at technology, we are the technology. Our inner abilities and original organic intelligence is always the one that has the most creativity. That creativity is superior to anything mechanistic, including AI, because my master's degree is in computer science education, and I know it's got great potential and functionality and can assist humankind when we use it in the right way with ethics. But the mechanical kind of the intelligence, all designed by humans that have original intelligence, have a certain creative and heartfelt empathic nature. These other interdimensional intelligence is definitely superior to that. Can work with it and can be beneficial for sure. Just take healing. We're going to have technological advances that are phenomenal healing modalities that we've never had before. But ultimately, we have to believe in it. Our subconscious mind has to accept it. And we have to change internally, even for that to work. And further, without any technology at all, there's spontaneous healing and understanding of physics and intention and visioning that can cause healing without any technological intervention or even another person.
Do you think there are ethical considerations that may arise as new humans develop abilities?
There's built-in fail-safe rules and regulations, if you will. In order to ascend, there can't be the selfish or the willingness to harm, or I think you have to pass certain tests in order even to get the abilities. You have to be really a pure love, pure intention. Even though we can see that people have misused technology and used it in evil ways, as far as our soul technology, if it's based in pure love, and pure love is the measure by which you need to pass your soul test, for example, you're not going to really get powers that can be misused, or they'll be taken away, because ill-gotten gain never lasts in any way, shape, or form.
If you were to visualize the impact of divine potential, how would the actualization of divine potential impact, say, human institutions such as education, healthcare, and governance?
I love that you brought out institutions, because in that book, It Is a New World After All, in my forward thinking vision, what came to me from spirit was that all these institutions were going to dissolve, the old institutions, because they are replete with limitations and old thought forms, programs that no longer serve our highest good. This is part of the changing of the guard in the divine plan. The old institutions are dissolving, and institutionalized thinking has a lot of ego in a way, and it's always been done this way. It'll always be done this way. You can't do it a new way. You can't think for yourself or think a new way. That's all being dissolved, because the higher thinking always outsmarts the lower thinking.
Yeah, I call them bureaucratic flatfoots.
Yeah, good idea. I like that. Oh, goodness.
In terms of addressing the potential disparities that may arise between those who have actualized their divine potential and those who have not, how do we go about addressing those potential disparities?
We're guided from within. I always get this picture of let's say that my hand is reaching up and look by the angel. I'm reaching up, consulting with angels and ascended masters. And at the same time, the other hand is reaching down, helping up another soul. We're connected hand to hand and heart to heart. That web is full of love, compassion, understanding, mercy, grace, and forgiveness. It contains or is composed of a network, like a web. In that connection, we're being helped. We're being helped and we're helping others. We use both hands, giving and receiving. It's all a balance and it's a flow of energy.
And another interesting thing that comes to mind as you were speaking was you mentioned your master's being in computer software. One of the phrases that came into my head was intuitive coding. I was thinking if coding becomes more intuitive and one finds themselves developing more innovative solutions to complex problems, then I wonder if technology could be a gateway to unlocking human potential on a global scale. How might technology serve as a practical toolkit of understanding for spiritual growth and self discovery in our digital age? It's like becoming a digital mystic.
We just have to remember that we are the creator. The technology and artificial intelligence is the tool. So it is subordinate to our intelligence. We created it. It is subordinate. It serves us. It's just like any other tool. Let's say you were pounding a nail with a rock and you decide to get another tool like a hammer. That tool serves our purpose of getting that nail in. The same thing with technology. It serves people. It serves people to travel around in hover aircraft rather than traffic and getting stuck in traffic jams because we can go at different altitudes and stuff. We're not all on the same surface. I would have to say, ordered my hover car and the color. So that's going to happen. Yep, could have happened a long time ago. It's all connected from the heart and also the intent to do good, really. You blend with your tool with intent to do good. It's really super beneficial and of service. When I use Excel, a computational program, and I can put in formulas rather than doing the math by hand, it does whole columns. I'm thankful for that technology. It's very much of service. And I've used that a lot, databases and spreadsheets and presentation software. I love using computers. I make presentations all the time and I use them for education. I like playing with colors and selecting pictures that work in terms of my stories for awakened awareness. It's a happy tool. It's just like a paintbrush and paint. More tools for creativity. I love it. So, like, you are learning evolutionary astrology, but the maps of now I don't know the right terminology, but the astronomy, the stars, the planets, and the relationship to each other, those relationships have a lot to do with characteristics, personalities, life paths, all those
archetypes.
Yeah, exactly. Having technology to do that sort of thing goes along with an algorithm doing the math is extremely beneficial. I remember, again, going back to my first astrological chart. It wasn't actually a chart. It was typewritten on 8 pages. These were typewriter days, no computers. Somebody studied it and did my chart in 8-page typewritten report. And that's how I received it. Nowadays, you can go put in your birth time, place, and birth date, and bam, all of a sudden you have your astrological chart.
But what you don't get is you get the 3,000 plus variables there are in the chart.
Oh, yeah, that's above my pay grade.
That's why you have an astrologer. That's why you have an astrologer.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fascinated and I very much value the information, though, of astrology. Just like I'm not a singer. Lord have mercy if I was. I'm not a singer. I haven't quantum jumped to do that yet. But people that sing are fascinating and I appreciate art and music and things that I can't do. Same thing with astrology. I want to pay attention to it. I value it, but it's not my forte. I'm looking forward to your skills.
Thank you. Two words have come into my mind as you were speaking. That is corporate enlightenment. Why would I think of that? There are multinational corporations who have introduced mindfulness and emotional intelligence training for their employees. Over time, they notice improved productivity, creativity, job satisfaction. There's a shift. The company culture shifts towards more ethical decision making, maybe transcendent leadership, sustainable practices. And this success inspires other businesses to follow suit, which then leads to a gradual transformation of the corporate world. I don't know why I'm asking you this, but I'm going to ask you, how can the principles of divine potential be integrated into our work lives without being commodified?
It doesn't necessarily have to be commodified, but if you think of it, any astute manager of people in the corporate world wants to tap into the exact skill set and abilities of the person who's the employee, rather than try to pigeonhole them into a box with a list of job tasks. Naturally, you're calling on the higher intelligence. I was actually a CEO for a short time of a small company that was spiritual. Instead of telling people what to do, I was asking them what are their gifts? What is their passion? What would they like to do? And adjusting the job roles to the person's soul gifts and talents, rather than having the person fit into some box with a title and a list of tasks. I saw that firsthand. Over 20 years ago, I went to a conference in Acapulco, and it was consciousness in business. This trend started as a seed and in small places, and now it's catching on because that's where we're at in humanity. And a lot of people have left corporations and now coming back to transform corporations. The same thing with institutions. Everything's being transcended and transformed. The old models are obsolete. The new models are emerging as a result of transcendence of consciousness. We're transforming our models of businesses, and we've broken out of boxes. Now we're in spherical Venn diagram kind of relationships where we're merging consciously in consciousness, realizing that we're one and working together. The expression of divine potential naturally in business and corporations is going to have a positive effect all the way around because it's holistic.
I'm putting on my white coat of science.
I can see you now sitting next to your little microscope.
It's funny because that's what I had as a kid. I was fascinated by this micro world, microscopic world, a quantum self. If science can begin to see the parallels between the research and ancient spiritual teachings, and say one develops a theory that suggests that human consciousness might operate on a quantum level, potentially exploring phenomena like intuition, interconnectedness. And that work sparks a new field of study that bridges science and spirituality. How might a scientific understanding of consciousness change our approach to actualizing divine potential?
First of all, it's being open to it. There were a lot of closed minds and closed doors when it even came to higher sensory perceptions several decades ago. If you had intuitional abilities and experiences that would express those, you were thought of as crazy, a whack job, you're just not normal, and you're written off. To me, not just my world, but our world, because I'm seeing it all across the board. Now, higher sensory perception is becoming the norm rather than someone being ostracized from society because it wasn't accepted. Now it is accepted by and large, not totally, but we're on the path to opening doors of acceptance and opportunities, which actually is accelerating and expanding everybody's potential because it's acceptable. And people are now coming out with stories that they really held close to the chest, like near-death experiences, for example, and communications with other dimensions. You just wanted to blend in and not make waves because you didn't want to get called names or whatever. It wouldn't get received.
I remember in the early 80s, I was running every day before college, and people would look at me like I was some kind of fitness freak.
Yeah.
Because now it's pedestrian.
Right.
Everybody's doing it. I'm going to put on my social media actor. I'm embracing all these different personalities, but I'm looking at it through the lens of actualizing divine potential. There are many social media influencers out there, and they're known for their lifestyle content. If one was to undergo a profound spiritual awakening, a real spiritual awakening, not some hippy dippy tune in, turn out, they undergo a profound spiritual awakening. They begin to share their journey of self-discovery and actualization with their millions of followers. And there's this authentic portrayal of both struggles and breakthroughs, and that resonates deeply with many of their millions of followers. And it sparks a movement of young people who are seeking to explore their divine potential. How can we navigate the tension between sharing spiritual experiences and the potential ego traps of social media?
That's part of the conflict right now, because people who could control other people based on fear and limitations, and now they're out evolving and have a higher intelligence, cannot be suppressed in that way. There's conflict now because those who were able to control and have power over others have lost that by the sheer fact that our souls are evolving and higher intelligence is taking over, higher consciousness is taking over, just making them obsolete. There's no war. It's a peaceful rising to the top. Cream always rises to the top. It's like a gentle, peaceful power. And you just say, you're not going to control me anymore, and you can't. And there's the tantrums that are happening. Oh, I'm going to still try the old playbook and the old ways. I'm going to launder money and build big bombs and make you scared and create a boogeyman for you. You're just like, yeah, okay, have fun with that. But that is really what's happening. The people with egos don't want to let go of power. You just don't give them your energy or attention. People who have gone through spiritual growth and have had to deal with narcissists, egotists, you don't engage. You don't give them your energy and attention. You walk away. You don't engage in the fight, because the fight's what gives them your energy. You don't have to fight. There's no fight. It's just peace. It's just like, I'm floating up here in higher consciousness, and that's obsolete down there. And over there in the corner, I see some people having tantrums. And they're getting to be very humorous, to tell you the truth. It's what I call a kindergarten lie. Kindergartners, when they try to lie, are so cute. What's a lie? What's so outrageous? They think that you might believe some really super outrageous, impossible story. It's humorous, but we are going through this change collectively. We've had our catalysts and challenges up against the institutions that have shown their true colors. The true colors are coming out. Individually, we're showing our true colors, and we're clearing anything that needs to be cleared so we can shine bright, help each other, and raise our consciousness. We are intuitive. Intuition is such a power against these other former power structures. It's ahead of time. You've got the playbook. You don't buy it anymore.
You've been in education for a long time, and I'm picturing an innovative school that incorporates practices for actualizing divine potential into its curriculum. Alongside those traditional subjects, the students learn things like meditation, emotional intelligence, and explore intuition, their unique gifts, and their purpose. I see the school has remarkable improvements in academic performance and creativity and student well-being. How could education systems be redesigned to nurture the divine potential in every child? What skills and knowledge would be most crucial for actualizing divine potential In the rapidly changing world of the 21st century,
Holistic self-discovery and self-development, for which I'm already creating lesson plans and curriculum, starting with different levels of self-discovery. The first level being what makes you happy, which is the initial self-discovery, holistic life planning, looking at yourself, discovering your talents and abilities, and following your interests, finding your passion, using meditation, self-inquiry, self-reflection, and contemplation, in addition to the right brain logical research, combining all of that stuff. In the holistic approach, you want to look at health, developing health, mindful of your health, and developing yourself spiritually, not just academically. There's a holistic approach to education that's emerging. And personally, I'm beginning to develop it for many years now. And it has not been brought out to the public. But when the public is ready, the curriculum will appear. Then there's the beginning one, what makes you happy? And the next one is called Living Consciously from the Inside Out. It's looking at other aspects of self-development and self-mastery, looking at your energy, setting priorities, everything in a holistic model, on to the advanced of living an intentional life, creating your reality, understanding the physics of consciousness, understanding the collective, understanding oneness consciousness, unity consciousness, developing Christ consciousness, and full-blown divine expression. That's the new education. You're barking up the right tree here, because that's what I'm here developing. These books are, see if I can point to it. I can't get my hand on the right side. There. These books are part of that. In fact, It Is a New World After All. That would be like an intermediate guide. And Live Love, being a master of vision and vibration, that would be more of the advanced level. And Forever Free could be someone who's starting out and wanting to have training wheels, or what do you call it in the UK? Someone else told me there was another word for it over there. What would you call training wheels on a bike? Someone told me another.
stabilizers.
Yes, that's it. Stabilizers. So stabilizers are training wheels. You start with following somebody who has raised their consciousness and reading their words or hearing their words, because that will bring you up to a higher consciousness. Meditating with them. I remember somebody meditated with me one time when I was giving them a reading, and the type of reading I was giving, I was saying, you can just sit there and be quiet. I'm just going to channel the message first and write it down with automatic writing. That person told me that was the deepest meditation they were ever able to get to. I never really thought of it, but I was in that space of connecting at the soul level with spirit in the Akashic records, and it had an effect on their consciousness, which is interesting, and it makes sense because it's like being a tuning fork. You can reach that same vibrational frequency when you resonate, being in the same space with someone or reading the words. Remember before, and I was talking about having my hand up. And when I go into meditation, I'm communing with God, divine source, angels, and masters. And I'm getting my consciousness elevated by attuning to that level, which raises my consciousness. And then writing from that space these different poems, passages, and knowledge on how to develop yourself spiritually. That's the hand down, where I can help raise other people's frequency by using what I've developed. You can come into resonance. You can share that resonance like a tuning fork and be trained. It works the opposite way too. So when people realize you're getting entrained when you give your attention to lower vibrational frequencies, you will change your direction of attention and know where you're putting your energy. You can be brought up or down.
Way back in the 70s, Maharishi Yogi proposed if 1% of a population practiced transcendental meditation, it would produce measurable improvements in the quality of life for the whole population. That became known as the Maharishi effect. In 1993, a study in Washington, D.C., they supported this theory. They showed that there was a 23% reduction in crime rate when a group meditated over a 2-month period.
Yeah, there's been a lot of research studies that have indicated the many benefits of group consciousness, group meditation, group
And
intention. It's creating a field. The stronger the field, the more effect it has on collective and individuals. It has a very powerful effect, more than we have realized before now.
how might your approach to education impact society over generations?
Wow, I love that question. I feel like it has the potential for affecting many generations when I'm on to my next assignment, because there is no death. But if people do change assignments and change frequencies or change embodiments, incarnations, they might leave behind a legacy. Their words live on. I can see in my intuitive eye, it could change many souls for many generations. Praise God. Wow. I think about the words I've read of Yeshua, Lord Jesus the Christ, and Paramahansa Yogananda, who I studied his literature in depth over many years, many hours, taking lessons and reading his literature and being lifted up by this wonderful master. I think it is possible, and it is my intention, and I believe it's God's divine plan. God is the doer, basically, and I've submitted to being an instrument of that. I believe it can have a very positive effect, definitely.
That's beautiful. That brings us to the end of today's episode. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to you, Michelle, for joining us. Your insights, experiences, your grace, eloquence, and candid thoughts have enriched this conversation and given, I believe, listeners so much to think about. Do you have any parting words, and where can people find you?
My parting words would be everybody is a shining star. You are shining your light so bright. Everybody has their gifts. And sometimes it doesn't seem like we have a powerful impact, but everybody's on track, whether they know it or not. They don't have to have some big plan or know every detail of their plan, because it's better to carry on day by day and step by step. I would say share your gifts and you're making a big difference. And thank you very much. Namaste for sharing your gifts. That's my message to the audience. Where you can find me, I have 3 websites, but the primary one is Smile, SMILE, number 4, love.com. And the rest you can get to from there. It's michellemarieangel.com and Visionary Solutions, number 4, smile.org. Just go to the main one. My email, if you want to contact me, is Michelle with 2 L's, smileforlove.com. Thanks for asking.
To the audience, thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this dialogue as fascinating and illuminating as we did. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leave a review, and share it with a friend who might find it equally valuable. Till next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep the conversation going to empower your evolution. This is your host, Peter Michael Dedes, signing off.